Welcome, one and all, to Stoniecast number 69 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. Your boy Stony is back for the 69th time. I can't believe it's been that many already. And I'd like to welcome all of my favorite hustlers, lowlife, scumbags, hoodlums, cheats, foul-mouthed, raging alcoholics, fienders, and degenerates. You're back. You want to know why? Because I deliver the winners. That's all I do. That's all I've been doing. That's all I did last year, and that's all I did last week. Listen, to start off this week, let me just say haters gonna hate. It's what they do, right? Haters don't love you. Haters hate. I very rarely hear, hey, great job, Stone. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. What I hear is, damn, man, I had Florida the other night and they lost, and you said they were going to win. Really? Really? Yet last week, week 0 of college football, to start the week, 5-1, right? Come on. Doesn't get much better than that, right? Last night, 3-0, 8-1. Your boy is off to a rip-roaring start to this season. Now, I'm looking over here and I'm watching the Duke and Temple. I did tell you to take Temple plus the 7. Granted, there's a long way to go, but right now Duke is hammering Temple. It ain't looking too good. So we got Temple, and then the last game that I took on the board tonight is the upcoming game, TCU over Colorado. So those were the grand total of 10 plays. 10 plays that I gave you? Is that what it was? 5-1, 3-0 last, 8-1, no, 11 plays. Yeah, so grand total of 11 plays. We're 8-1 right now in the books, guaranteed locks. Even if we lose both games tonight, 8-3. Okay, so off to a rip-roaring start. This is what it's all about. This is the best time of year as far as I'm concerned. Well, best time of year for me is when college basketball gets going into November and December. That's, anyway, we got plenty of time to discuss all that. In the meantime, welcome to week 1 of NCAA football. A wild Saturday, a wild weekend coming up on us right now. It all started last night. A couple of really, really good games. The backyard brawl, Pitt and West Virginia, right down to the wire. Penn State, right down to the wire, and getting a huge W against the spoiler makers from Purdue. A couple of really good games. Yes, granted, there were blowouts, but still, good football already. Week 1, here we go. Keep in mind, the transfer portal has changed college football. Now, just today, they announced that there's going to be a 12-team college football playoff in the next couple of years. Who knows how that's going to go? We can deal with that later on. But in the meantime, the regular season, this season and next season might be the last 2 seasons, and it really kind of still sort of means something. Because once you get 12 teams in, you can lose 2 or 3 games if you're an SEC team and still get in. So who knows what's going to happen down the stretch, or in the future. But for now, all we can go on are the numbers that the books put up for us to look at this week, and let's get after them. Last thing before I do, shout out to my boy Cruz. Talked about haters hating. Cruz called me, congratulated me, thanked me for delivering the W's. He didn't give me 10%, which he, kind of obligated to do so, considering all the money that I made him over the years, or just last week in particular. But either way, he called, congratulated me, thank you. Yes, Cruz. No, I'm not going to call you by that name that you call yourself, because self-glossing doesn't work, and you do not talk about yourself in the third person unless you're Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson's the only one that gets away with that. Ricky needs new cleats because Ricky can't be running on the dirt. When Ricky steals a base, Ricky's the man, and Ricky's the greatest. No. Cruz, or that other name that you call yourself, no. Cruz is your name. Thank you. I give you props. Unlike other people who are upset when I do well. They're happy when I do bad, but they're upset when I do well. Anyway, 5 minutes of basically nothing talking. Let's get after it. Tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, game one. 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Big Ten Network, Maryland versus Buffalo. This one's in College Park. Maryland's at home. They're 24.5-point chalk. Buffalo is not a very good team. 4-8 last year. They do have quarterback transfer from Rutgers, Cole Snyder. He comes in, takes the reins for the Bulls, but the defense is not very good, and they're going to have their work cut out for them against Maryland. Maryland went 7-6 last year, and flying under the radar is Taulia Tagovailoa. Yes, Tua's little brother, put together a massive year last year, set records for passing in Maryland. They did return 10 starters on offense this year, so it's a very experienced bunch, and 24.5 against Buffalo ain't much. This one's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly early. Take the Terps, lay the 24.5. Moving on, 12 p.m. Eastern Time at the Big House in Ann Arbor. This is one of the big ones. It just seems to be the one everybody wants to talk about because it's eighth ranked Michigan is 30.5-point chalk against Colorado State. It's an ABC game. Colorado State comes in 3-9 last year under Steve Addazio. Steve Addazio's out now. Jay Norvell, formerly of Nevada, he's the new head coach. He's got his work cut out for him. And tomorrow, he's in really, really bad shape. Michigan, last year, they made it to the college football playoff. They got beat up pretty badly by eventual national champion Georgia in the semifinals, and Jim Harbaugh is doing Jim Harbaugh things. He has an established quarterback in Cade McNamara, but he also has a 5-star recruit in J.J. McCarthy, and he's going to be flip-flopping. He's going to start Cade McNamara tomorrow. The next week he's going to start J.J. McCarthy, and he said by week 3 we should have a better idea of who's going to start. Who knows what that means? But it's Jim Harbaugh being Jim Harbaugh. The things that matter are that they run the ball and that they defend. I don't see Colorado State scoring in double figures. Michigan scores into the 40s at home. Lay the 30.5. Take Michigan, and this one gets ugly again. Just like Maryland, it's going to get ugly early. 12 p.m. Eastern Time, still staying in the ACC. This one's in Greenville, South Carolina. North Carolina State and East Carolina renew their unpleasantries. 13th ranked North Carolina State comes into Greenville, 12-point chalk. Dave Dorn is in his 10th season now at North Carolina State, and most people are saying that this is probably his best season or his best team in the 10 seasons he's been there, with such a high lofty ranking to start the season, number 13 for NC State. They are returning 7 offensive players, 10 defensive players, right? It's starters. These are all starters that are returning. And Doran has the goods to really make a run at the ACC this year. East Carolina last year, they won 7 games. Their bowl game got canceled because of a COVID outbreak. But quarterback Houston Allers comes back. He's a 5th-year senior, and he should be able to move the ball for East Carolina. And the Pirates can still run the ball. Defensively, they might have some trouble slowing down NC State's offense, but they're not here to win. They're just here to cover the 12. Give me the Pirates. I'll take East Carolina plus the 12 at home, the home dog. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in hot Atlanta. The Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, number 3 ranked Georgia, 17.5-point chalk with basically a home game against 11th ranked Oregon. Georgia, we all know about Georgia, defending national champs, Kirby Smart. Last year's defense was just fantastic, but here's the problem. 15 players were lost to the NFL, 5 players into the first round, and 13 players transferred to other schools. So now, with that being said, This is not a Hawaii situation. This is still Georgia. There's a reason why they're ranked number 3. Georgia is going to be in the college football playoff again this year. They're too good not to be. They're going to roll. They're going to beat a lot of teams this year, and they're going to beat a lot of teams badly this year. Will it be Oregon tomorrow? New head coach Dave Lanning, he was on Kirby Smart's staff for 4 years at Georgia as a defensive coordinator. So he's the one who built that defense, that awesome defense that shut down Alabama in last year's title game. Dave Lanning built that defense. Now, he's got his first head coaching gig. He's up in Oregon, right? He has talent. There's no doubt about that. And he's got Bo Nix, formerly of Auburn. He transferred in. He's going to be the starting quarterback. He can make things just uncomfortable enough for Georgia in that Oregon can cover that number and slide through the back door. So I'm going to take the Ducks catching 17.5 in basically a road game at the Dome. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. SEC action. Well, SEC. Fayetteville, Arkansas. 13th ranked Arkansas, 6.5-point favorite against 23rd ranked Cincinnati. 2 ranked teams, just like the last game. There's some good matchups, and this is going to be one of those under the radar good matchups. Cincinnati last year broke through and made it to the college football playoff as a non-power conference, right? They made it in. Luke Fickell has done a fantastic job building a program that believes in him, but Desmond Ritter's gone, right? They have a quarterback battle right now. They don't really have an identity right now because they lost a lot of players from last year's excellent team. And now they've got to go to Fayetteville to take on an Arkansas team that Sam Pittman, he's now in the 3rd year as the head coach for the Hogs, and he has really, really high hopes. He thinks Arkansas can contend for the SEC Western Division title. They went 9-4 last year. Quarterback KJ Jefferson is a superstar. He runs, he throws, he does a little bit of everything. And with the time he had during the offseason to develop his craft, he's been throwing more. And this is a dangerous team. And because it's Arkansas, you know they're going to run. They're going to run with wide receivers. They're going to run with tailbacks. They're going to run with the quarterback. They're going to run with fullbacks. They're going to do it all. And they're going to do it all on the ground. When they have to throw, KJ can do it. This one, I like Arkansas. Lay the 6.5 at home. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Intriguing matchup down in San Diego. San Diego State has a brand new stadium, finally. After playing the last couple seasons, their home games in Carson, they finally got Snapdragon Stadium on campus at San Diego State. They come in as 6.5-point favorites against Arizona. Arizona, let's face it, how can I put this nicely? Well, you can't. Arizona's a mess. 1-11 last year, 1-23 in their last 24 games. Jaden Deloria is the transfer quarterback from Washington State. He won the Pac-12 conference freshman of the year last year at Washington State and now transferred to Arizona. Yeah, let that sink in. Not exactly sure why. They did bring in some wide receivers to complement him, but the defense is a total mess. And Arizona is going to have a really tough time slowing down a San Diego State team that went 12-2 last year, finished ranked 24th. Their quarterback transfer was from Virginia Tech, Braxton Burmeister. He put together a solid season, but San Diego State is now a team that is built on defense. I don't know what Arizona is going to be able to do offensively at all, if anything, against San Diego State. The under, it might be worth taking a flyer on the under here, but I like San Diego State. I'm going to lay the 6.5 at home as they break in their new stadium with a W over a Pac-12 foe. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We head down to Texas, the Alamo Dome. 24th ranked Houston heads into San Antonio to take on UTSA. Houston is 4.5-point favorites, and Houston is the pick. They're this year's Cincinnati. Last year, everybody said, well, if a non-power conference team's going to break through to the playoffs, it's going to be Cincinnati. Now, this year, everybody's saying it's going to be Houston. Well, it's very possible. Houston went 12-2 last year, and they beat Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl, which is played in Alabama. So, Houston put together a hell of a season. Senior quarterback Clayton Tune is back, along with wide receiver Nathaniel Dell, and they put up numbers. They're an exciting team, and they've been doing it. They come in as only as a slight 4-point favorite against UTSA. Yeah, what do we know about UTSA? Well, for those of you fienders and degenerates and raging alcoholic foul-mouthed fienders who watch the show, you'll know that they went 11-0 to start the season last year, 10-1 against the spread to start the season, and I was on them for like 8 or 9 of those games, just racking up W after W while nobody knew who the hell they were. Well, they finished 12-2, ranked 22nd on the season. Quarterback Frank Harris comes back. He's a top quarterback, and this is a dangerous Roadrunners team. It might be worth running the risk of taking a flyer with UTSA on the money line, right? You could really get them at good odds at about a plus 160 at home. But to be safe, I'll just take the 4, and I'm going to take the Roadrunners plus 4 against Houston in an upset, because let's face it, that's exactly what it is. It might be a mild upset, but it's an upset regardless. Moving on, 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. Let's move down to the swamp in Gainesville, Florida. This is a good matchup. Florida's at home, and they welcome 7th-ranked Utah. Utah comes in as 2.5-point chalk. An interesting matchup on both sides of the ball here. Billy Napier takes over in his first game at Florida. He spent the last 4 seasons doing nothing but winning games over at Louisiana. And he comes in, and he's got a pretty stacked deck now. Well, excuse me, not a stacked deck. Florida's unranked, but Florida's a very dangerous team. And 6'4", 240-pound quarterback Anthony Richardson is the man. A lot of comparisons to Cam Newton, not as strong as an arm, but he does throw an effortless football. He runs the hell out of the ball, and he's only going to get better now. He's in his sophomore season. They have a deep backfield, but the defense is what killed him last year, absolutely crucified him. So Billy Napier, who's known for his defense, is coming in, and he's going to have to retool that whole defense. And it's going to start right off the bat by facing a 10-4 team from last year that returned 17 out of 22 starters. Kyle Whittingham, I've been saying it for years on here, dating back to my old podcast, where he's the most underrated coach in college football. Every single year he wins. He doesn't get any press. Even in his own state, he doesn't get the press because BYU gets it all. Utah is loaded this year. They're coming in. A lot of people are picking them to sneak into the CFP. Quarterback Cameron Rising comes back. He's got running back Tavion Thomas. And that offense right now, I mean, last year it was clicking on all cylinders as they just beat everybody down the stretch. And they did it very well. They did it offensively. Sorry, Duke is just putting it to Temple right now. This is looks like we're going to start 8-2, and we're going to have to hope for TCU tonight. But anyway, Utah is loaded, right? Defensively, right? They have a veteran offensive line. 4 out of the 5 starters are all returning starters. And their defensive line is one of the best in the conference, but their secondary is one of the best in the nation. So Kyle Whittingham has built, don't want to say a juggernaut, but a plus team in the Pac-12 for what that's worth. I like Utah in this game, or in this spot. A lot of people might like Florida, say, Utah is not ready for prime time yet. Yeah, they are. Take Utah, lay the 2.5. Utes get the W. Moving on, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Lexington, Kentucky. 20th ranked Kentucky is 16-point chalk against Miami of Ohio. Kentucky comes in with a very good team once again. They last year they were loaded. They scored a lot of points. They got a lot of W's, and quarterback Will Levis is back again, and he's going to be throwing the ball all over the field. And Mark Stoops is one of the most underrated coaches in the SEC because of all the big name coaches already in the SEC. Well, Mark Stoops stepped in and did some damage to his team. Suspensions all around, starting with running back Chris Rodriguez. He got picked up in May for a DUI. He's suspended, along with superstar linebacker Jordan Wright, their outside linebacker, and 3 other players. So 5 players in all have been suspended. So Kentucky is loaded. They're going to have a good year, but they're shorthanded coming into their first game. And that's not good news against a Miami of Ohio team that can scare the shit out of you. This offense is top notch. Quarterback Brett Gabbert is only getting better. 4 of their 5 offensive linemen are all returning starters. All of their backfield is back, and their defense is as solid as you can get for a MAC team. Now, they're going to have their work cut out for them against Will Levis trying to slow him down, and with Chris Rodriguez out of the game, Levis is going to have to throw the ball a lot more. And that's fine. Kentucky's going to win. We all know this. Miami's not going to Lexington to win, but they're going to come in and they're going to cover the 16. Give me Miami of Ohio, plus the 16 on the road. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the marquee matchup of the day in Columbus, the Big Horseshoe, number 2 Ohio State, 16-point favorites against 5th-ranked Notre Dame. We've been hearing about it all off season, and now we've been hearing about it all week. Sorry, I'm just looking. Okay, yeah, it's halftime. Anyway, Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman takes over as head coach for the dearly departed Brian Kelly, who went down to LSU to be with his family, and I developed a Southern accent as soon as I moved below south of the Mason-Dixon line to be with my family. Yeah, Brian Kelly. Anyway, Marcus Freeman's a class guy. He's been the defensive coordinator there for a while. He's a Notre Dame guy, but he's got his work cut out for him, right? It starts, quarterback Taylor Buckner is making his first start. He did see action in about 10 games last year. And Freeman does have a solid defensive line and a very good secondary. But in his first game against the type of opponent that he's up against, it ain't going to be easy. Right? Because Marcus Freeman played at Ohio State. So he's got to get rid of all that nostalgia and try to devise a game plan to slow down C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the man. He's one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. He comes in with a loaded backfield right behind him, talented wide receivers, and what people are saying is an explosive offense that can score 50, 60 points on anybody at any time. Ryan Day is not head coach, is not satisfied with an 11-2 season. They lost to Oregon last year to start the season. They lost to Michigan last year to end the season, and 11-2 just ain't going to cut it in Columbus these days, especially with a team this talented. Now, Jim Knowles was brought in as the new defensive coordinator. They brought him over from Oklahoma State. He turned Oklahoma State's defense into a national power last year. So let's see what he can do with these type of athletes at another OSU, at Ohio State. Well, Ohio State is the pick here. Take the Buckeyes, lay the 16. That's the smart play. I'd rather lose with Ohio State in this matchup than lose with Notre Dame. Moving on, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Starkville, Mississippi. Mississippi State, 16.5-point favorites against Memphis. This one, to me, is one of the easiest plays of the day. Memphis was 6-6 last year, and this year they have the 3rd youngest team in the nation. 70% of their roster is underclassmen. So, this is not going to be easy for Memphis. Now, they go up against the Mississippi State team that went 7-6 last year in the SEC, right? Um, but they're returning 16 starters, a very experienced team. Quarterback Will Rogers is now a junior. He threw for 4,700 yards last year. Imagine, and set 4,700 yards. What he threw for was the third highest total in SEC history, right? And he did that as his junior. He did that as a sophomore. Now he's a junior, and another year under the Mad Pirate. I mean, come on. Mike Leach is the man. Mike Leach is he scores. That's what he does. So Memphis will not be able to keep up. Take Mississippi State. Bulldogs roll 16. Lay the 16.5. Moving on. I had a mispunch there. There it is. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Corvallis. We move on. Oregon State versus Boise State. This is a good matchup. Oregon State's at home. They're 2.5-point chalk. This game's an ESPN game. Boise State is in their second year under head coach Andy Avalos. He used to be on the same staff as Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith. Hank Backmeyer comes back as the quarterback for Boise State, but Boise State's defense really, really had a tough going last year, and their offense it's not the same teams that they were in the past, whether it was Chris Peterson or whether it was Steve Sarkisian or whoever was up there at Boise State putting up all those numbers, right? It's a different Boise State team. The Smurf turf doesn't scare anybody anymore. Well, this game's not on the Smurf turf. They got to go into Reser Stadium. Now, you think of Oregon State, you think of an also ran. Well, they went 7-5 last year, but 6-0 at home. This is a very, very dangerous team. Linebacker Omar Spates leads one of the best defenses in the country, and Oregon State is going to shut down Boise State. Take the Beavers at home, lay the 2.5. Moving on to the final game of the evening, Saturday night, the Degenerate Special, which we hit last week. We're now 1-0 on the Degenerate Specials for the season. Game 2, here we go. This one, 12 p.m. midnight Eastern time tomorrow night in Stony Lulu on the Big Island, on the island of Oahu. Western Kentucky, 16.5-point favorites at Hawaii. We went through it last week. Hawaii is just a total mess. Timmy Chang is the name. He's the head coach. He broke records there. But the massive amount of transfers and withdrawals that they had from players after the whole Todd Graham fiasco left this team just a mess. They lost 63-10 to Vanderbilt last week. Vanderbilt, 10 minutes away from where I'm recording this right now. And Vanderbilt doesn't beat anybody. Vanderbilt, it takes them 5 weeks usually to score 63 points. Well, they hung it last week on Hawaii, in Hawaii. Well, now they're going to have their hands full with another high-powered offense. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers come in. Quarterback Austin Reed is loaded, right? He runs, he throws, he does very well. Now, they struggled last week defensively, right? They did hang 38 on Austin Peay, but allowing 27 points to an Austin Peay team is not very good, so expect them to tighten up their defense. I like Western Kentucky. I'm going to take the Hilltoppers here and lay the 16.5. That's your Degenerate Special for Saturday night. Now, we do have 2 standalone games, one on Sunday, one on Monday. Let's keep rolling. Sunday, 1 standalone game. Sunday, the 4th of September. I had to think about what day that was. The Dome. The Superdome in the Big Easy. Yep, LSU 3-point favorites against Florida State. This is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time ABC game. Does it get any better than this? Florida State, LSU. Oh my God, it's Bobby Bowden versus Les Miles. Wait a minute, no, it's not. Oh, okay, well then it's got to be Ed Orgeron, right? Another guy who's won a Heisman Trophy, right? No, well, he's gone too. For some reason, it just doesn't have the same magnitude, right? Florida State versus LSU. This is a totally different game that we're looking at right now. I don't even understand it. Well, do we take LSU at home? They're 3-point favorites. It's Brian Kelly. He's with his family. He's finally with his family. Down where he belongs. Down eating his gumbo. Brian freaking Kelly. We going to take Brian Kelly? No, absolutely not. FSU. Take the Noles. They won last week in a 47-7 scrimmage over Duquesne, but they're going to get the win here. Mike Norvell is going to get the W. Right? It's just not the same. Thought it would be Bowden versus Miles or something like that, but no. Sorry. Anyway, moving on to the last college football game of the week, which is Monday night, standalone game. It's now started to be a tradition. College football calls it the Labor Day Showcase. So on Labor Day evening, down back in Hot Town, back at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, Georgia Tech versus fourth-ranked Clemson. Clemson's a 22-point chalk. This one's going to be ugly. This one is going to get ugly early. Georgia Tech, 3-9 last year. Sophomore quarterback Jeff Sims is pretty good, but their defense is a mess, and their offensive line's a mess. So how are they going to protect Jeff Sims against the best front four in the nation? Clemson is coming in. Oh, everybody's talking about DJ Uiagalelei, and he'll be fine, right? He's another year older. He'll be fine. You just got to throw away last year for Clemson. That's it. Dabo Swinney is too good of a coach, a motivator, and a recruiter to allow that shit to happen again. It's not going to happen here. 22 points might seem like a lot. I don't give a shit. I'm going to lay them. I'm going to take Clemson, and that's it for the week. So there's your college football plays for the week. That's 15 college football plays I just gave you, plus the 5 that we're working on, right? 3-0 already, and one game losing, and then another game. So it's going to be 20 total college football games on the week that I've given you. Now, before we close out, there's one more game on the docket, and that's next Thursday night. NFL, first game of the season, NFL. Opening night kickoff. Traditionally, the Super Bowl champions take that spot. NBC game. Thursday, September 8th. Buffalo heads to LA, SoFi Stadium, to take on the Rams. Buffalo's a 2.5-point chalk. We saw what the Rams did last year. I told you in the weeks during their run to and winning the Super Bowl and immediately following the Super Bowl that last year's LA Rams team is going to be one of the most forgotten, one of the most forgotten Super Bowl teams of all time. They snuck into a division title based on the fact that the Arizona Cardinals sucked ass down the stretch and couldn't beat anybody, right? Handed them the NFC West, right? They had in the divisional playoff, they blew the big lead to Tampa Bay, but they did wind up winning it. Then in the NFC Championship game, if Jaquiski Tartt intercepts the ball for the 49ers on a horrible pass by Matt Stafford, the Rams are eliminated and don't even make it to the Super Bowl. Then in the Super Bowl, they should have lost that one too. They were losing in the fourth quarter. It was every single thing seemed to be in their corner, every piece of luck. That's all gone now. It's all over with, right? Stafford's had arm trouble all season. I told you last year the Rams couldn't run the ball. They still can't run the damn ball. They won't be able to run the ball next Thursday, I tell you that. Buffalo comes in as the Super Bowl favorite for a reason. This team is loaded. Anybody that saw them lose that crazy playoff game because they basically just ran out of time and, they never got the ball back on offense in overtime. Well, this team has all the tools, all the weapons. I like Buffalo. I don't know. I wouldn't say to win the Super Bowl, but I like Buffalo to get at the very least, to the AFC Championship game. But right here, right now, take Buffalo, lay the 2.5 on the road. There's your first NFL winner of the season. Next week, I will come back to you live again on Friday night. I'll have all the college football picks for Saturday. I'll have all the NFL picks for week 1 of the NFL season, including Monday night. And then I'll have the Thursday night game as well. So that's it. That's, like I said, that's 15 NCAA games that I just gave you, plus the 5 that I gave you last week that are still in action, because that is this week that we're still running on. So that's 20 college football plays, 1 NFL play, 21 picks. All right. What's a good week? 12-9, 13-8, 14-7 is top notch. But I'll take 13 W's. 13 W's would be just fine with me. Shit, I've already got I've already got 3 of them in the bank. So let's shoot big, because remember, if you want to win big, you got to bet big. All right. Scared money don't make money. Don't forget that. To me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.